This tree decided that it wanted to put roots down on both sides of the creek.
Nos pintamos. En las fiestas tradicionales de las culturas se utiliza. Es muy bueno.
That's really cool. That was this plant here. ¿Qué es nombre?
Achote.
Achote. ¿Y este?
Ortiga.
Ortiga. This one I didn't know any better, and I came over and touched these flowers, and it hurt. I mean, this thing stung the hell out of me. It has spines all over it, but it's medicinal and it's good for your bones, I'm told. Hola, it's IllumiGnostic. We are in the Amazon rainforest near Puyo, Ecuador. I'm here with Chris Canaday. He runs an ethnobotanical garden, so we're gonna talk to him a little bit about what they're doing here and take a tour and have a look at some of the medicinal plants and talk about what the indigenous uses for them are.
Yeah, welcome. This is the Omaere Ethnobotanical Park. It's a place where we teach about the traditional uses of plants. The name Omaere means nature of the rainforest in the waorani language, one of the indigenous languages. Right? It's not an acronym. Sometimes people think it's an acronym. And the park was founded 27 years ago by my wife, who's a Shuar. Her name's Teresa Shiki. She's a big expert in medicinal plants. She and two French women formed the Omaere Foundation. They bought the 15 hectares when it was mostly all grass for cows. Then they started planting all the most important plants to Amazonian Indians. They've had time to grow. Now it almost looks like a natural forest. We also have this traditional house where we teach a little bit about the Shuar people and the waorani people, two groups that were never conquered. So they still know exactly what their traditional life was like.
That's very rare.
Yes. And we do a walk with guides. The guide is explaining what the different plants are for. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes longer. If people want to go into detail, it's good to plan on at least 3 hours. If you want to be all day, all morning, whatever people want. Sometimes people ask for only half an hour, and then we just give that much information. The distribution for doing the walk is $3 for adults, $1.50 for students. There's discounts for large families, large groups, and each group should contribute at least $5. That's to cover the time of the guide, right? And we charge the same for foreigners and Ecuadorians. So many places in Ecuador want to gouge the foreigner, and it's really in bad taste, so we don't do that, and we keep the price really low so that the Ecuadorians can come, you know, and not go bankrupt and not be worried about the culture. Yeah, exactly. Because one of our main goals is that, to get the word out, and you know, especially in the Ecuadorian population, but the world population in general.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Let's take a walk.
Okay, very good. It's a melastone called churunch in Shuar, and it's tasty. It's sort of hyper acid. And it's good if we just are thirsty, or maybe we have a sore throat, or just want to chew on something.
Nice. Oh wow, that's actually pretty good.
Would you like some?
Tangy, almost like rhubarb.
Yeah, sort of that direction. It's a Comelaceae, and it has flowers that sort of look almost like orchids. This one's forming its fruits already, and it's very important in the life of Shuar women. When girls have their first menstruation, the girl's mother will look for this plant and dig up all the little tubers, squeeze all the juice out, and bathe the girl, her whole body, in this juice. And it probably has physical effects on the woman, but the ceremonial value is that since the plant has lots of little potatoes, it helps the girl have lots of children.
Oh, wow.
So
it's like a fertility medicine.
Yeah.
And they're very warlike, so they need to keep the population booming.
The Shuar are very warlike. They want an army of sons, lots of people dying in warfare.
Still?
Traditionally.
Yeah. That's the spearing raids have more or less stopped, correct?
Right. And this is guayusa. You've probably had it already.
Oh yeah. This is really important for the Quechua people, right?
Well, more important for the Shuar than the Quechua people have gotten it from the Shuar, sort of. And they'll say different, but It's a close relative to holly and to yerba mate that
Uh-huh.
Argentines drink all the time. It's got lots of caffeine and lots of other good things. And so it gives us lots of energy. In contrast to coffee, it's actually good for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes your body stronger. In the case of women, it makes their fertility stronger. Right?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and the Shuar use it for many different things. The most surprising is that every morning at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, they drink all the tea that will go in until they vomit. And you might be thinking, no thank you, how disgusting, we hate vomiting. But it's actually very helpful. It washes out of the stomach and the small intestine everything that didn't digest.
I've actually done that after ayahuasca ceremonies with Shuar shamans.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because most people don't, but it's very important because with ayahuasca, we interpret that it's pulling all kinds of garbage out of your body. And maybe you've noticed what you drink is super bitter, but what you vomit is horrible.
Yeah.
Right? And so it makes sense, you know, while it's in your body, it's pulling all these toxins out. They start pooling up in your stomach and your intestine. They can't sit there, so they got to come out. But it's not all going to come out.
Right.
And so after doing ayahuasca, it's good to do the stomach wash and get the last bits of all that out before going back to normal life and eating again. And it's also important to do it in the wee hours of the morning, the day that you're going to take ayahuasca at night, to help make sure that your stomach's all empty.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And we don't do it every day. We do it whenever we want, sometimes more often with our patients. We help lots of natural health patients here with chronic physiological problems, women's issues, lots of different things.
Nice. So these plants get used for medicinal purposes with people that need them.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, we have lots of patients coming through.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a rainforest grass, and it's called shishink in Shuar. It's the plant that the shamans use during shamanic cleansing, right? Might be during the ayahuasca ceremony or separate. They get a whole bunch of these leaves and they fan the patient. They're collecting bad energies from the person, and then they throw them far away, and they'll often blow them far away. Let me put this in your hand or someone's hand. Can you smell that?
Yeah, it's almost like garlic.
Yeah, it smells exactly like garlic, and it's totally unrelated to garlic. It's wild garlic, ajo de monte, right? And it's got the same substances in garlic. It's really good for blood circulation, respiratory issues, for treating cancer, for lots of different things. We can boil up the leaves or the stem, all depends on what's going on. This is a wild onion. It's actually related to onions, but doesn't smell like onions. Down in the ground, it's got a normal looking onion bulb, only it's not for eating.
Oh, yeah.
It's for treating snakebite.
Oh.
They get the raw juice from this and other plants. They squeeze it out, apply it externally, drink it internally every day for 2 or 3 weeks. They can cure cases that the Western doctor would have to amputate. They leave the person intact. The full detail on how to do that is not in any book. It's still passed from generation to generation among them. Yeah, this one is called kunapi in the Shuar language. Here's its name.
Looks like it has some kind of lime-like fruits here or something, right?
Yeah, they look like that, but they're very, very different. When they're ripe and turn yellow, they're a little bit like granadilla. I'm not sure if you're familiar with granadilla. Big seeds with sweet pulp around them. But the key thing about kunapi, it's very good for sinus congestion. When people can't breathe freely.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes it makes a big headache. We make tea with the bark. We snort a little bit up the nose. It stings for 2 minutes, gets all the garbage out. I have it ready, but it's sitting at home. But if you want to try it, we can get some fresh off the plant. We can do that.
Sure,
later.
yeah, I would do that, I guess.
Yeah, and like I say, I normally have it ready, but...
I've taken tobacco in the nose. Wow, that is really weird, too.
This is a bromeliad, and it's been adapted down low so we can see it easily. They're all related to pineapples, and they're essentially all pollinated by hummingbirds. And that's why they have these bright yellow modified leaves. as a flag to attract the hummingbird. The actual flower is down in the center there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what do we have here?
This is the Heliconia flower, and it's another hummingbird pollinated plant. And it's interesting, the red bits aren't the flowers. These are modified bases of leaves. It's not so obvious here, but I can show you later. I can prove that these are modified leaves. The flower is only this big.
Oh.
Right? And you can see that it's very well designed for the hummingbird to come and sip the nectar and get pollen deposited onto his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then he goes to the other flower and the pollen comes out. And when the fruits are ripe, they're bright blue to attract other birds that eat them and take the seeds to new places in the forest.
Nice.
Pumapanga, it's a Maranthaceae. It's got beautiful red splotches underneath. It's a medicine. They make tea that women can drink at childbirth to help control the bleeding. And just around it are these others from the Piperaceae, the genus Peperomia. This group of plants is very important in Shuar medicine. Some of the species are for digestive things, others are for female things. One species, they give the juice of 3 leaves to newborn babies in the mouth so the baby will be stronger and not get sick so easily.
Oh,
Right?
nice.
Our theory on why they give it is to eliminate the meconium, the first poop from the newborn baby that's like black tar. It doesn't come from milk or anything, it's just garbage. And so by getting rid of that black tar, it's opening up the way for mom's colostrum to pass defenses in the best way.
Right.
The Shuar are also interpreting that it's helping the baby's liver to work right. And all of these bits of knowledge are secret legacies passed from generation to generation among the indigenous people, especially among the Shuar. Modern medicine knows all the pieces of that story, but they don't know the right plant to give. They're not asking the Shuar, and the Shuar wouldn't tell them. Right? This is a small palm tree.
Turuhi?
Turuhi.
This is a palm tree?
It's a small palm tree.
It has some pods there.
And these are the flowers about to open. They get pollinated by euglossine beads that look like emeralds. And it's one of the best leaves for making the roof of the house. A roof made with these leaves can last over 20 years if there's people living in the house cooking on wood fires. The smoke goes up all the time. It's drying out the leaves, killing bacteria, fungus, and insects. Ceremonies and festivities, different things, and they have lots of different plants for doing that. And this is one of them. It's called Ipiak Numi in Shuar. It's got this bright orange sap. It's a latex. Excellent for painting the skin. Now, these other ones, that's achote, right?
Yeah.
It looks almost like the same thing. But let that dry. The achote is going to come off today when you wash your hands.
Yeah.
And this will usually take several days to come off. Yeah, it's a resin that's drawing there. And in the time that it takes to come off, it's really good for your skin. It's nourishing the skin, helping to erase blemishes from old cuts and scratches, insect bites that have left a mark, marks from acne, all those different things. We know how to combine it with other plants and bathe whole faces, whole bodies. And the way we mix it with other plants, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't. We don't keep the orange color. We combine it with other things, so it looks like you have a nice suntan. And your friends just wonder, hey, when did you go to the beach and you didn't invite me? That's the Ungurawa palm, and that one's a baby.
That's a baby?
Yeah, and this is the Morete palm, and it's also a baby. It'll get much bigger. It'll have a big trunk, maybe 30 meters long, and that's one of the things about palms that most people don't know, is that they always grow higher and higher. The new leaf is always on top, right? So a palm tree, a normal palm tree that has a long stem, will always get taller and taller. It can't just stay one height. And The Moretti palm is very important in Amazonia. It's the only species of tree that can live where the land is flooded with stagnant water all year.
Oh.
Right? And we have these huge palm swamps, all populated just with this one species, thousands and thousands of hectares. It's also the source of 3 really good foods. The heart of palm, which is forming on the inside there, is really big, really delicious. The fruit is about this big. It's got scales that look exactly like snake scales. You have to know how to prepare it, and the food is sweet and sour. Very delicious. The best food we get 2 months after cutting the tree down. We come back with axes and machetes. We split open the tree trunk. In the spongy part inside, we now find lots of beetle larvae.
The
This
chantakuru?
big, chantakura.
Kura?
Right? They're this big, and you might be thinking, no, thank you. We're not.
No, I ate them a
savages."
week
Yeah.
ago or so, and I always said I did it on video, and I said that is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. It was, I mean, I cooked it with garlic and kind of gringoed it a little bit, but
But it is super delicious.
uh-huh.
And it's an arthropod, not so different from shrimp. Most people don't think twice about eating
What
shrimp.
did I say? That's exactly what I said.
Right? But they're living in a totally clean place. They're in the middle of the tree trunk, in the middle of nature. Very different from modern shrimp ponds with all the water pollution coming from the city, all the chemicals going straight in.
Or the Gulf of Mexico, it's full of feces and oil and yep.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's even a medicine. Just eating it, it's really good for our lungs. It's good to give to asthmatic children.
Yeah, and we were told by a Quechua woman that it's good for your throat.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Good for the respiratory tract in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a palm tree with stilt roots, and I was explaining that the reason for the stilt roots is to give them more physical stability, right? Especially in the face of the soil often being totally saturated with water, right? And individual roots might break or slip out of the mud, and so it has a more stable base. And this is a walking palm. It can walk over 2 meters in its lifetime looking for more light.
What?
This one only walked a little bit because it had good light. The seed sprouted exactly here. I know because it's smooth. With its spiny roots, it has walked a few centimeters to the left toward where there's more light. All right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the new root that just recently connected to the soil. It came splitting out of the bark, and in less than a month, it was attached. It grows really fast.
Wow.
It's really flexible. Only after attaching, the sharp spines come out. All right? People use these to grate food. What do they do for the tree? They help to defend the tree against huge animals that don't exist anymore. The Pleistocene megafauna. Animals you might know through a movie called Ice Age.
Yeah.
Right? The mammoth, the giant ground sloth, those animals would want to push the tree over and eat the heart of palm.
Uh-huh.
Even an elephant pushing on this would say, no thank you, very
Yep.
painful, let's go eat something else.
I've definitely gone to catch myself a few times and made this mistake, and
Yeah,
it's
not a good
not
idea.
pleasant. Nope. Mm-mm.
All those huge animals were driven to extinction by people killing them to eat them only 15,000 years ago when we arrived in South America. A very short time in the evolution of trees, they still have their defenses.
Oh wow, it's just everywhere.
Uh,
So uña de gato.
Uña de gato, cat's claw. It has curved, sharp spines looking like cat's claws. Here's some. All right.
Oh wow. That's where it gets its name, all right.
Yeah, so it helps to climb up the trees. And these lianas, this is a type of liana, they can be much older than the tree they're growing on, which is surprising, right? You wouldn't think that could be the case, but they're well adapted that if the tree falls, they can get twisted and crushed and everything without breaking and dying, and then they grow up the next tree.
Uh-huh.
So the individual liana can be much older than the tree it's on. And this one is very bitter. And it's a big medicine for purifying the body, reducing swelling, even for combating cancer, arthritis, stomach ulcers, prostate inflammation, and for improving the body's defenses in general. Teresa almost always has it ready. She's almost always mixing it with other plants, depending on what's going on with each patient. And normally it's a really bitter extract. You take 1 or 2 tablespoons, 1 hour before each meal, 3 times per week, in general, depending on what's going on with the person.
Yes, and everything that you said, I read, has been confirmed in clinical studies.
The tree's curious. It's got its whole head bowed down. I'm not sure if you can see that. I think you can see it.
Yeah.
And it's not from shame. This is the way the tree grows. The whole head came from a single bud. It opened up, expanded 3 times as long. It looked like a pink rag. This is another case of pouring out foliage, right? The insects can't be there waiting. If they find the tender new leaves, they can't eat them all, right? So in 3 days, it's 3 times as long, looks like a pink rag. It starts turning green and lifting up. In 6 months, it's at this angle again. It puts out a new bud. It's only exposing the tender new leaves to the insects 1 day every 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And it's called Cruz Caspi, tree of the cross in Quechua and Spanish, because if we cut through the trunk, we actually see a cross in the middle of the wood. The bark, together with other plants, is used to make a contraceptive tea that women can drink and not get pregnant for 1, 2, or 3 months, depending on the recipe. If the woman takes a stronger dose every month for more than 3 months, she's done. No more children ever. Much more sophisticated, much less invasive than what they do in the modern hospital. You know what they do, but I'm going to remind you. If the woman doesn't want any more children and she tells the modern doctor, they'll put her under anesthesia. She can die of the anesthesia not being done right. That happens sometimes in Ecuador. Then they cut her open in her most delicate part and start tying things up. If they don't do that, they give her artificial hormones and little pills, injections, implants that later damage her body and everyone's body downstream. Those chemicals don't get destroyed in the woman's body, they come out in her urine. They can do all the wastewater treatment anywhere in the world, they can't get those chemicals back out. It's the same thing with antibiotics, antidepressives, cancer chemotherapy, cocaine, caffeine. It all ends up in the river. It's affecting the fish. In the next city, everyone's drinking those chemicals, bathing in those chemicals. It's a little bit ridiculous.
The ocean is testing positive for benzodiazepines, like Xanax and Klonopin.
Yeah. Just random selections in the ocean. Yeah. And there are alternatives, right? We can build our urine diverting dry toilets. We can filter the urine into the soil. No one has any contact with it. It's getting more treatment. We're fertilizing the plants. Right, so there are alternatives. First, we have to recognize the problem. Right? Groups that have different levels of knowledge, and the Shuar are among the champions.
Yeah.
And this is a tree from the Heliosmum genus. It's called Tarqui in Spanish, Campuntin Weiss in Shuar. It's got a nice smell. It's really good for making tea. You can just drink normally, but it's especially important for women that have just given birth. They make a lot of tea 3 days after giving birth. They drink it, they bathe in it. It's to purify the woman's body after the pregnancy, right? Things build up in the woman's body during the pregnancy. You can't do anything about it while the baby's there because the baby would be affected. But once the baby's out, you can purify mom.
Ungurawa, Shuar. Those are all different names?
Different languages, yeah. And
these things are crazy.
yeah, this is a palm tree with huge leaves. It's one of the leaves the waorani used to make their house. It doesn't last very long, and they didn't want the house for more than 9 months because they had huge territories with over 1,000 hectares per person. So in 1 year they hunt a lot of animals in this one part of the forest. The house is starting to leak water. They get tired of living there. They burn down that house, pick up their things and go walking 1 day or 2 days within their same territory. They build a new house in 2 or 3 days with these big palm leaves. No problem. And it's in a place where they'd planted the peach palm 6 years before, 1 year before they'd planted bananas and manioc. So they have all this food
Ready to go.
before they move there. They're not wiping out anything anywhere. It's very different from us. They get the fiber for the blogan dart. When the tree's older, it produces a lot of fruits. Each fruit is about this big. It's one big seed with 1 millimeter of an oily food on the outside. Very delicious. We can dissolve it into water, sweeten it, strain it, and it's like hot chocolate sort of. The oil pure is really good for our hair. Strengthens the hair, avoiding split ends, hair loss, dandruff.
So this is a copal tree. It's the source of the very well-known incense and fire starter. Wow, that's a scary looking little spiky thing on the back of the leaf there.
Yeah.
Is it a seed pod or?
No. Yeah, this leaf has hairy balls as part of the defense system. And here's the inhabitant, right? The little ants.
Oh, the ants that taste just like lemons.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's a duplex. There's 2 doors, here and here. It's a duplex, and we just destroyed their home. And there's all the babies, right? And most ants taste really bad because they've got formic acid. These taste really good because they've got citric acid.
Yeah, they taste just, they must have terpenoids too because they taste just like lemons.
Did you get enough?
Oh, I've had them. I don't really want to eat the eggs.
You don't want to eat the eggs, is that what you said?
And yeah, so it's a good case of mutualism, where the 2 species don't just live together, but they're actually helping each other. Right? The ant gets housing, food, and water, and the plant gets protection. You see that those leaves have been chewed up a little bit, but if the ants weren't there, the plant wouldn't exist, right? Because if another insect comes and chews on it, the ants attack them.
I know a lot. Whoa, that guy's. So here is a very young ayahuasca vine crawling up the tree.
Ayahuasca is the main plant for getting visions in the Amazon, right? It's the stem itself that gets cooked together with other plants. It's cooked all day until it's very bitter, very thick. The expert who's leading us will give us a small amount at 7 o'clock at night, right? We drink it in 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours. Is usually violent vomiting, diarrhea, almost can't walk. And if the person has fasted correctly, if the dose is right, it's like a television lighting up in your mind, and you see pieces of your future, new medicinal plants, advice to live better. You can communicate with deceased loved ones. Lots of information through ayahuasca. Right? It's getting more and more proven clinically to help with deep psychological problems like childhood trauma, sexual abuse, drug addiction, PTSD, all these things. It floats up and washes away. Teresa prepares it mainly when people convince her that they want to do it for the correct reasons, that they're going to take everything seriously, they're going to do the fasting. And she especially likes to do sessions of all women. She explains that if there's one man anywhere nearby, the women can't release what they need to release.